Anyway, let me say you're welcome for the wonderful world you know. Hey, it's your day to say you're welcome. Well, come to think of it, I gotta go. You're welcome. You're welcome. And thank you for once again tuning in to StillerBros at the movies.
And today, guys, it is a DC movie. Once again, this time, however, it's a little different because we are seeing BlackAdam.
So, why hasn't The Rock been in a superhero movie? Seems like a question that should have been asked a bunch of times in the last 15 years, in which Marvel has been the defining superhero studio.
It's not for lack of trying. Dwayne was on the short list for Drax the Destroyer, as well as probably a bunch of other movies in the last 15 years.
Though, of course, the thing about it is that Dwayne Johnson, when the first Iron Man was coming out, was kind of in that period when wrestlers weren't really doing high concept movies. Now, occasionally you get a Rowdy Roddy Piper in They Live or something like that, but most of the time the blueprint was essentially, okay, you get to do one action movie that would be a lot more fun if it was stupider, and then you get to do a family movie that is way, way stupider, but not nearly as fun when re-examined through an adult lens. Think Hulk Hogan or anyone like that. And most people who remember Dwayne Johnson's career pre-Fast 5 will remember that was a lot of the stuff that he was doing.
We had the rundown, and then obviously he shifted over to Race to Witch Mountain and The Game Plan and Tooth Fairy.
And that was basically the point where it seemed like Dwayne Johnson was going to be a family film guy who, while they did well at the box office, they weren't exactly out of the park hits. Then he did Fast 5, which I don't know if it's safe to say this, but he may or may not have basically saved that franchise through his very presence. Of course, around the time Iron Man 1 was being made, there was another deal being forged, because it turns out Dwayne Johnson was negotiating with Marvel, a New Line, and Warner Brothers to bring another superhero to the screen, Shazam.
Yes, and when asking fans who would they'd rather see him play, Shazam or BlackAdam, it was almost unanimously decided that fans wanted to see him play BlackAdam. So in November of 2007, it was announced that Dwayne Johnson had signed on to play BlackAdam.
And so we sat and waited, and the whole world waited. Dwayne waited, and like we said, he was on shortlists for other superhero movies. But there was always just this one in the back of his mind, in the back of everything, just waiting to come out. And then they made a movie of Shazam, and BlackAdam wasn't in it.
But Dwayne Johnson, in the time between signing on to play BlackAdam and Shazam, had gained a lot of notoriety in Hollywood, to the point that he can pretty much get any movie he wants to make made at this point in time.
Basically, Dwayne Johnson went from being just another wrestler to changing the game. Basically, you can thank Dwayne Johnson for for the great careers of Dave Bautista and John Cena and the like for as wrestlers turned fantastic comedic and action-oriented movie stars.
Because these wrestlers because Hollywood finally figured out what to do with wrestlers who have these over-the-top personalities.
And so Dwayne Johnson has become franchise steroids. You basically throw him into a franchise to make it stronger. Fast and Furious. He became such a popular character that they gave him a spin-off. You know, they needed a lead for the Jungle Cruise movie. They threw him in there.
They needed G.I. Channing Tatum didn't want to do G.I. Joe anymore. Boom.
And so, yeah, that's what happened. And because he'd been so successful at it, Dwayne Johnson became kind of big enough that he could be like, okay, now it's time for my BlackAdam movie. Once I'm done with like the 6 other movies that I'm doing.
And finally, he got time, and finally his schedule opened up, and timing worked out. He got the people he wanted to be involved in it, and here we we are.
So Black Adam is an anti-hero, is a villain turned anti-hero in the DC universe. He's mostly known as one of Shazam's more dangerous foes, and through that, we know that Dwayne Johnson is going to be playing him because he kind of resembles the way that he did in the comic books. The director for this is Collet-Serra, one of the guys that Dwayne Johnson has now officially decided is in his stable of directors, since he just came off of the Disney Jungle Cruise movie and is probably signed on for the sequel. We don't know yet.
Yes.
Okay then. But yeah, the director of the Jungle Cruise is Dwayne Johnson, and who else is involved? Oh right, the guy Pierce Brosnan, best known for one of the most iconic performances ever put to film in the character that we all know and love. That's right, Sam from Mamma Mia.
Hell yeah!
I'm just kidding.
Go again.
I'm just kidding. It's Chiron from Percy Jackson and the Olympians. The first one.
Just the first one. But we have Pierce Brosnan. We also have Quintessa Swindell, Aldous Dritch. I'm gonna not remember. Aldous, I don't remember his last name at the moment. I looked this up on IMDb before leaving the house.
And Noah Centineo, who is finally looking to break out of the Tiger Beat scene, as he's been mostly known for starring in stuff like All the Boys I've Loved Before, whichever one of those Netflix movies he's in.
Who needs to be He-Man after all? He wasn't gonna headline a franchise. Look up at him. If you want to know more about just certain crap like that, look up Animat's video on Return to Oz, on Legend of Oz, Dorothy's Return.
Actually, they don't have to, because I just put it in the eye.
Thank you very much.
But anyway, yeah, this movie has just kind of been sitting around for 15 years waiting for Dwayne Johnson to make it. Well, mostly waiting for DC to get off their ass enough to make it. I mean, and unfortunately now it might be one of the last DC movies made before they start cutting things down. Seriously, the current regime at Warner Brothers is burning the studio to the ground metaphorically so much that I wouldn't be shocked if in like 2 weeks' time we find out that they literally lit the studio backlot on fire. Oh my God, I may have just given them a fucking idea. Please no! Please no!
You do not need the insurance money that bad, Zasloff.
You do not need it. Also, if you're taking requests, Infinity Train and Close Enough back on HBO Max, please.
And Batgirl, and put Batgirl out.
Oh yeah, that more important than the other two.
Even though, yes, Infinity Train and Close Enough back on HBO Max, and Magiswords, Magiswords, which we haven't seen, but we like those guys, like the guys who made it. So,
but yeah, Black Adam is a movie that has been the problem with it is Black Adam is not getting a lot of advertisement on it, possibly because they're trying to bank off of Dwayne Johnson's star power, possibly because Warner Brothers is on such a money-saving run that they don't want to spend any more money on distribution than they feel they have to for what is now officially their last movie of the year, because they literally are cutting costs so much they couldn't afford to put anything else out.
No, they are not spending money on. They did not want to spend money on advertising any more movies, so they pulled all the rest of their movies that they were going to put out this year and pushed them to next year. So this is pretty much the last movie they're going to be putting out. Warner's going to be putting out this year.
The only ones they saved were this and Don't Worry Darling, and Don't Worry Darling kind of flopped just sheerly by the fact that people saw it. Not a lot of people liked it.
Yeah. So, they got all that crap going on.
But yeah, Black Adam. Will it be exciting? Don't know. We have not heard good things, but we've heard we've heard some good things, some bad things, but still not 100% sure what the consensus is. It's got 50% on Rotten Tomatoes, but if you measure Rotten Tomatoes is the be all end all, you're not going to get much off of that.
Yeah. So
for right now, I don't know if we have anything else to say, so I guess we'll just see after the jump. Alright, so we are out now, and it was fine.
It was pretty good. Not spectacular, but...
See, here's the thing about this movie. Black Adam is as a character, I mean, it knows what it wants to be, and for the most part, it does certain things right. It's built around an anti-hero, so it does have the anti-hero be excessively brutal when it comes time for him to actually get into some action.
The action scenes are pretty competent for the most part,
and the characters are kind of fun. My problem is with plotting.
Yeah.
There's about 3 different plots in here, and any one of them could have made a good movie. I think their problem is that they kind of decided they wanted to make them all, and I think that might have something to do with how many times they seem to have reshot this.
Yeah, this is very the word I would go with is unfocused. It just seems like if they had stuck with either they were focusing more on BlackAdam or focusing more on the Justice Society, that would have been something, but ultimately there's a lot to this movie. It might have, and it seems a little like it could have used with a little more tightening, maybe less reshoots to adjust it. There's definitely some points where you can tell that they had characters voice over to change conversations.
But it's basically but like I said, there's 3 plots. There's this big political plot where the country that BlackAdam and the majority of the characters in this movie come from is in political upheaval. Gangs are running it, and they kind of want BlackAdam to be the guy to fix it. Then there's the Justice Society thing where they're sent in by Amanda Waller. It's basically a Suicide Squad thing, but with actual superheroes, where they send them in to rein in BlackAdam after he's been released. Then there's the 3rd plot, which is basically this Terminator 2 thing where BlackAdam is being taught how to be a superhero by this kid and his mom, who set him free.
Yeah. Now,
like I said, any of those movies could have been good if we had focused on them a bit more, but it feels like they're trying to evenly distribute these,
and it's just not exactly working the way it should. It clearly wants to be more of an ensemble piece, but it just isn't balancing the characters in the way that it should.
Now, but speaking of the characters, everyone is doing perfectly well with what they've got. Dwayne Johnson as BlackAdam is basically playing this dark, brooding, angry guy and it works for the most part. And even because he's Dwayne Johnson, the second that he is allowed to say a quip in some capacity, he does deliver it well.
Pierce Brosnan, I think, is probably the biggest standout, though, of the cast.
Oh yeah, I love Pierce Brosnan in this. The obvious comparisons will come to Benedict Cumberbatch as Doctor Strange, but and then the comic book nerds will be like, "No, Doctor Strange came first. This isn't fair. Don't read a comic book, you posers." But it's like, but look, guys, Marvel has been setting the standard. Marvel is the drummer. DC's just the poor guitarist trying to play along.
But despite the obvious cinematic comparisons to Doctor Strange, Pierce Brosnan as Dr. Fate really gives an emotional performance. I hope that we can see something of this come around at some point.
I mean, I think the big difference between Brosnan as Dr. Fate and Cumberbatch as Doctor Strange is that even though they seem to be playing very similar characters in the sense of, I can see the future, I know what's coming. I mean, Brosnan has more of a world weariness to it because of the simple fact that, yes, Pierce Brosnan is an older man than Benedict Cumberbatch, and Pierce Brosnan and Dr. Fate is an older character. As a character, is older.
Yes. We also have the rest of the Justice Society, including Aldous Hodges, who playing Hawkman, who I'm interested to see more of this character as well.
Especially since as our friend Matthew keeps pointing out to us, he has this big epic story backstory that could potentially upend the DC universe if they just let it play out.
But as of right now, they don't even really hint at that backstory.
No, here he's more just the leader, the tough as nails guy who plays by the book. He's the by the book cop character that BlackAdam needs to battle against in the it takes a thief to catch a thief type storyline.
Yes.
He's the guy from White Collar who gets White Collar to play in White Collar. In case you can't tell, we've never actually seen White Collar.
There's a lot of cool action set pieces. There's dark action set pieces. It's a very, but again, it feels very unfocused on what kind of story it wants to, on exactly what the story it wants to tell is.
Yeah, and there's a lot of stuff to like. I like the costume design, especially on things like the character of Cyclone, who part of her character design when she first shows up is just basically DC saying, "See, Marvel, we can reference Wizard of Oz too," and I liked Noah Centineo playing somewhere between Ant-Man and Spider-Man, just kind of running around, quipping, constantly eating, because the joke of haha, his metabolism makes it so that he has to be constantly eating to survive.
Well, they do it better than the Flash in Justice League.
Oh, anything would be better than the Flash right now. Also, by the way, I never realized how ripped Noah Centineo is. He's a freaking giant in this movie.
Well,
before he turns on the growth suit.
Well, I mean, he was gonna be He-Man for a while.
And then also, it's very clear. I don't remember seeing Zack Snyder's name anywhere in the credits, but it's very clear that homie Collet-Serra is calling to him in some of the action scenes. Like, literally, first 5 minutes, this is Sparta shot.
Yep. It's a lot of slow-mos. It's like, yes, we are all aware that 300 existed.
But then again, the Snyder stands are going to as always be contradicting each other, because they've gone from hating this movie to loving this movie to they're probably going to hate this movie again, because spoiler alert, there's a mid-credit scene, and just in case you haven't heard what that mid-credit scene entails, we're not going to mention it. But here's the thing, it's music, and it encapsulates something. That's all I'm going to say about that without spoiling it.
However, it was nice for this. I liked this mid-credit scene, and I'm excited and I hope that something will come out of it, because I hope that DC will finally get their shit together after all this Zack Snyder shit, and finally start making a bunch more decent movies.
Considering the fact that they're on an upswing, and that they've only made one particularly bad movie since Shazam or Aquaman or whatever.
Depending on where you can't start counting.
I see that as a good sign. And plus the fact that they're hiring James Gunn back for various for multiple other projects is also a good sign.
Yes.
And the fact that they seem to be at least trying to do the whole let's make one movie and then keep going thing,
including having some nods to some of the more successful stuff of the last couple of years with a cameo, which I very much enjoyed having. Yeah, along with a different cameo who comes completely out of nowhere, and I wonder what the connection is. There is a 6 degrees of Kevin Bacon connection that we just did not get. That we do not get there, but it was still fun to have this cameo.
It was whatever. It was fun for the brief second they showed up. Even if it was basically, hey dude, can you film this from your phone in your backyard real quick? We'll feed you the lines through an earpiece or something.
Yeah.
All in all, BlackAdam is not the high of Suicide Squad, but I don't think it's the low of Suicide Squad.
It's not the highs of the Suicide Squad. It's not the lows of the Suicide Squad. I would honestly put it right underneath the first Wonder Woman movie, just maybe above Man of Steel.
Yeah, it's fine. It's not gonna. I don't think it's gonna hurt any. I don't think anyone's gonna get particularly angry with it. I don't think anyone's gonna be particularly heartbroken that the BlackAdam movie wasn't as up to snuff. Are we gonna? But the upside is we do get Shazam 2 sometime next year.
Yep.
And that looks definitely as epic, insane, and stupid as we would hope for from the sequel to one of the best family superhero movies of the last 10 years.
Yeah, especially since there's a very good chance maybe we'll see Black Adam pop up there next.
But for right now, I think that's all we have to say.
Yeah.
And so, everybody, don't forget to like this video, subscribe to this channel, and don't forget to join us next time when Show Them Who You Are. Bye.